Initially, I came up with the idea because we brought all of Oak Park School to the Van Wezel last season to see a show, and there were so many students with physical limitations and in wheelchairs that we actually had to remove seats from the center of the theater. So then when we watched them, Robin Sadlow and I and the other teachers, we saw how interested and helpful the other students from the other schools without any special needs were to be participating with them.
And he said, I have an opportunity for your school. He said, I have this great grant with the Kennedy Foundation, and it's with non-disabled peers and disabled peers, and there's 2 shows at the Van Wezel you get to attend. I'm like, I'm in. I didn't even ask any questions, I just said I'm in. And he said, but I don't know how we're gonna get the non-disabled peers. I said, that's no problem, we have Lakeview right next door.
Well, the project was brought to us by the Van Wezel, and they wanted to build a symbolic bridge to bridge that gap of cooperation. Fortunately, we had a bridge, and they used that as a literal bridge of that unity.
And so the Van Wezel contacted me. They knew of my project, the Waterfall Mural Project. I bring a visual art component to the curriculum. And this project in particular, what I do is I interweave math and science and literary skills and anti-bullying all into building a permanent outdoor waterfall installation and a mural and a garden.
We've been a partner in education with the Sarasota County School District since 1997, and we've been working with the school district as part of our commitment to that program to provide meaningful arts experiences. We say that we teach in, through, and about the arts. It's obviously a wonderful opportunity for the students to get to participate in the project, but what's even an unexpected and wonderful thing is that the teachers were able to build these relationships.
It was exciting for the fact that we had a blank slate, so to speak, with this bridge. And the concept was very strong, bringing our 2 schools together in unity to celebrate our diversities. And so when we did that, from the very beginning, we were chattering to each other. We had so many ideas pouring out that we had to try to contain ourselves a little bit.
It's a wonderful thing to be able to brainstorm with other people, other professionals in my career, and share what we know or think about and build upon each other's ideas.
We find it brings more meaning to it, and the children remember it better because it's more of a whole experience instead of just do this here and do something totally different somewhere else.
The really unique thing about being a teaching artist is that we come in, whether you're a performing artist, a storyteller, a dancer, a musician, and we work to enhance the lesson. So whatever they're teaching, we bring an added component to it.
It's all about arts integration and this integrated math into the tile making. It also integrated chemistry because the students worked with glazes. They had to talk about water. How would you represent water in tile? How many tiles would adorn a waterfall?
It brought the water cycle to life and simple machines and how they work. They never thought of a shovel as a machine before.
The students had to understand how important all these precision elements.
The students went out and measured the bridge and tried to figure out how many inches they had to have between tiles to get the number of tiles we wanted on the bridge. And they had to figure all that out. It was not an easy thing to do.
If you saw the list that Robert Warren put together of all of the standards, it's extensive. Language arts, mathematics, science, the arts themselves, social, personal, and emotional goals that the students met. The students just loved it. They ate it up. It's real life work turned into the standards that the students are expected to meet.
You know, when we submitted the grant, we had identified about 25 teaching standards and benchmarks in math and science. But as it grew and we added Mosaic and we discovered all of these additional learning opportunities and the classroom teachers, then they added a horticultural element to it, and we had plants and benches and everything. It just grew and grew and grew.
Is the whole aspect of interweaving the curriculum into what seems like a really fun art project, but really what goes behind all of that is making sure that all the math standards for the right grades are incorporated, or if there's special needs students, that those substandards are incorporated.
If you were to whittle Common Core down to just a few words, it would be being able to have a deep understanding of a concept. So that was throughout this whole project. In art class, figuring out what they wanted on their tiles. How large did they need to make it? How many tiles could fit across the bridge? Digging down to that concept of measurement and creativity. And then in science, putting together the waterfall and figuring out the height so that they would have the trajectory of the water be completely right. And then you factor in the fact that it was a whole lot of children. It wasn't just one group of children. It spanned our 2nd grade all the way to our 5th grade. And even our kindergartners and 1st graders were involved with the actual painting of the bridge and the waterfall construction.
In the beginning, it was basic things like learning about color and about color mixing and color matching and using appropriate colors for certain subjects, and to follow instructions as far as how to paint, how to apply paint. We had very specific steps that each student had to follow.
Having the ability to transition from my classroom out to the waterfall, and then some of us transitioned across the bridge and over to Lakeview. And that's huge for them to be able to do that, but that's a perfect life skill because soon they'll have to get off the bus and know how to transition into a store or facility to get what they need.
I think the adults are shocked about what kids are capable of doing. And I think the kids themselves are shocked. When you present a picture of an outdoor waterfall, it's like, oh, I can't do that, or, but you know what? The students do all this work. All we do is guide them. They're digging the hole, they're cutting the pipe, they're measuring, they're, using sand to level out the stone with mallets and hammers, and the plants that they've planted, they come out and they make sure that they're watered. Kurt Boysenberg, who's the horticulture teacher at Oak Park, was absolutely incredible. Every morning he had his kids out there to make sure that everything was fine.
One of the things I really tried to work with the students on was the understanding that it doesn't always happen immediately. There's a long-range feel for this project, and our long-range feel is still happening because we're working on a pathway. And so it's nice for them to see that not everything's immediate. And so they enjoy it when they get to go out the door. They see what's in front of them. The bricks are on the table, the plants are on the cart, and we bring the cart out there. And then they get to do that installation. And I've seen the excitement they get when they come by and the project is still there.
Well, we brought a tile because that was one of the biggest parts of this. The children all made their own tile to go on the bridge. They also learned a lot about public art. That their artwork wasn't going home with them, it was going to be permanent. And it was going on this bridge and it would be there forever.
Well, as a principal of students with disabilities, the first and foremost objective is to move our students to the least restricted environment, to get them as close to their non-disabled peers as possible. And this project has allowed us to get to that point where both the non-disabled peers experience the disabled peers environment, and our disabled peers then move over to the non-disabled peers and they get to see their environment and slowly bridge that gap.
I saw the magic with the general classroom because they got to see and realize that there's other people their age that have lack of mobility and have lack of speech. Yet when you're in a regular ed classroom, you don't always get to see that because most people are able to move freely.
If a student's in a wheelchair and actually couldn't move his or her arms, they could water the garden. They could participate in laying down tiles, just moving their fingers. So each child in the grades had something to do, some part of this project.
And our first collaboration was set in my classroom, and Lori came over to our classroom, and right away the children acted like they were old friends.
And that feeling that you got from that, the kids were so appreciative. And when her students came over to my art room, I mean, they couldn't say enough about, oh, thank you so much for letting us come over here. And they were just so grateful. And they worked so nicely with our kids that we thought, we're never not going to do this again.
My students, it just changed their whole outlook about people with special needs. And the children, I had some parents from Oak Park would see me periodically and say, oh, my child who goes to Oak Park, and we were at Publix the other day, and one of your students just came up and hugged them and started talking to them. And they said, that never happens.
And it helped me realize that there are young people out there that can make a huge difference, because it's hard for our students to even have a difference in their own lives. So for me as an instructor, it was great because I think it was nice to be able to see other students that could step over and help students that needed it.
It's like maybe the core of who we are, you know, of like when you don't have your persona out there, when you just do what comes from your heart. I think that's, especially working with this age group, before they have all the stuff that comes in, you know, it's like they're just genuinely good kids that want to help each other.
Peer mentoring fosters leadership. It also helps with understanding better the needs and the challenges that our friends have, that maybe we think we're the only ones that have those challenges. By sharing and getting to a level, a bond, a friendship of trust, then they open up and we can find out that, you know, they've got the same challenges and the same successes that we do.
The reason why I'm so interested in it and why I want all the schools to know about it is because it breaks down so many barriers, and it literally it brings kids together. It's team building, it's negotiation, it's cooperation. You know, all the things outside of the whole curriculum standards part. I get to see kids come together and forget about who they are and what their issues are. They just get their hands dirty and they start building things and they love it. And they, you know, by osmosis, they get math and science and stuff in the process. I could go hire some waterfall person, but when you put Dave and Lisa out there with kids, oh my goodness, it's like magic, because, you know, Dave's got like the whole thing where he's going, you know, you got to cut this here and we're going to measure this, and they're like sponges. You know, all the kids are like sponges. They're soaking everything up.
But to get the kids started too, they had to get rulers out. They got to measure the holes. They have to, Lisa will kind of draw it up, what we're looking for, and it gives them the imagine to have them look at the site to see how this is going to be created for them. So there's a lot of math and science,
The layout, everything.
and layouts of all this. So it takes a lot to build something.
Most of them have never had their hands on tools like that. And I think it's just something new. It's not just sitting behind a desk, which is difficult for some children to learn that way.
They did really good. I was very pleased with these kids. I never seen a lot of kids that would really want to get in there to do something like this, and it was making me more excited because they wanted to get in there and work, and if they ran into a problem, they would say, Mr. Dave.
Now, how would we figure this out? Where would the center of this go? How do we know? And this is a level and things like that. This was very helpful to have the children see that and figure things out themselves. They would remember then.
I think it's important for local business to be involved with community, whether it's schools, churches, parks, I just think it's important to give back. Those are the people that are keeping us in business, so we have to be able to show them that we appreciate that.
It makes you realize that you're not in this alone, and that they really, truly do care what's happening inside these four walls and inside this fence. And that they are there, and they are there not only physically to help with mentoring children and tutoring children, they're there with their financial resources, which are always so very much appreciated. But I think what I've been learning from this is that they're out there talking about us. They're telling their friends and their associates about the great things happening at Oak Park and at Lakeview. And, you know, word of mouth, that's the best advertisement out there. And so now they're seeing what we're so proud about.
The art is an equalizer for someone who's struggling with math but can draw a picture or paint a mural or do a bridge. The light comes on for them, and they're able to see that I matter, I'm no different, I'm not less important, and I can excel also, and I can learn in my own way, and that my teacher can create opportunities and exercises that meet me at the point of my need, pull me up to the level where I need to be, and then to have a lasting example through an art piece or the mural or the bridge. It's just phenomenal.
This project was so important especially for our Oak Park students, I think, to show not our students or our staff, because we know what our kids can do, but to show the community what our students can do. I mean, that's why we try to bring them out in the community as much as possible, have them go to the Van Wezel, have them participate in projects to show that they can do what everyone else can do, maybe on a different level, but with the same outcome and the same joy and happiness.
There were students that were wheelchair bound, and we were determined, we wanted to make sure that they'd be a part of it as well. So we found something for them to do. They were rinsing rocks, little things, but it was something so that they could be a part of the project too.
And if they had to swing a rubber hammer,
We had a couple of them.
everybody got a chance to do something. Nobody was left out.
And you're not quite sure, you know, what you're going to be able to do or to communicate, and you get a little caught up with that, about their skill set, just based on the logistics of what they can and can't do. It dissolves immediately as soon as they sit down and they want to interact with you on a one-to-one basis. So to me, that was very surprising and rewarding to see, you know, just their ability to communicate and be with you it was really the only skill they needed, was just to be.
In Sarasota itself, we have about 45 teaching artists who have been certified and trained, and the schools, Sarasota County school teachers know about us and they're beginning to hire us.
I have a certificate of art and healing from Ringling College, and one of the prime directives for me is the inspiration of working artistically in the community. So in this community of the children, it was extremely rewarding because of the ownership that they took in their portion, their piece of the art that they were working on. We spent some time in the courtyard developing a panel for each child that was working on it over one whole day, and then we transferred the mosaics to their waterfall. Brokenness of communication, you know, in students and teachers and community and with each other, all of that is a wonderful metaphor for, you know, with mosaics as well, to pull them together, to put the pieces together. It's like a giant puzzle, you know, everybody's got a little role in that, building that, putting it together, and then of course cementing it later.
It was nice to see them helping each other out too. It was nice to see that the next generation, you don't hear a lot of good stories on the news and about the children in our schools. And this was nice to see firsthand that these kids are really great, that they are interested in helping each other. It's not just about themselves, which I think we lose that as adults. And so it's nice to bring that back.
Friendship lies between the bridge of schools, with teamwork we can help make things really cool.
The 4th and 5th graders worked in my class to write their own lyrics for a song that was to bridge between Oak Park and Lakeview, and that's what they did. And we started out identifying words that we'd like to include, and then they put those into phrases, and then they put the phrases together to make sentences, and then we got them into rhymes, and we set them to the meter of America the Beautiful. I think they'll remember it with fondness. It touched them to work on the words, and then singing the song at the dedication ceremony was really important to them. My chorus sang it, but I also had volunteers from quite a few of the other classrooms that came and sang along with them because it meant so much to them.
Brenda is an outstanding artist herself, but she brought to our school this wonderful gift of taking an idea and a concept, a basic concept, and following it through all the way to a finished stage right before the students' eyes. And she's a wonderful teacher as well. So she was very natural and relaxed with all of our students whom she'd never met before.
When I was born, my hip socket was crushed, and I didn't walk until I was 7, and so I have a pretty significant limp. And so it's always been a big thing in my life to be, I'm very aware of people who are differently abled, and that's part of what my passion is working in this type of venue to be inclusive, and that's what all my work is about, is making sure that everybody gets to participate.
We are so happy for Brenda Smoke, who is our teaching artist, that's helped us to put this project together. And one of the things that we're so happy about is that the tools that these teachers have learned extend when this project is over. Next year, when all the cameras are gone and when everybody's gone, those teaching tools are still in place for the teachers to come together. And the teachers have already talked about what they're doing in the future. Oh, we can do this, or what about this, and what about that? And so that's what we're most pleased about, because that's what improves and enhances student learning.
This is all about relationships. And as mayor of the city and armed with this wonderful Van Wezel Performing Arts Hall, that we have taken this relationship on. The relationship with Lakeview School and Oak Park, how wonderful that is, because the students here, when you work with other schools, by the way, it gives mainstreaming a different word, a different world.
Well, not only do we have a beautiful waterfall that we can look at every single day, and the children who actually took part in it, and we had hundreds of children that actually did the bricklaying and the grouting and the pounding, and they take enormous pride. There's not a day that goes by that you don't see them either showcasing it to a friend or bringing their parents over to show the waterfall that they made. But it also shows a beautiful bridge that has gone from being kind of an eyesore. It was functional, but that was about it, and now it's a piece of art that the children can go across on a daily basis, and if they're not crossing it, they at least see it when they're out at recess and on the PE field.
Joan and I have a great relationship, being right next to each other. We share a lot of different experiences together as a neighboring school, but it's so often that we get pulled away from all those things, and this project came to realize that some of the things we do have and that we should, hold up in the air and let people know that our schools are special and that the relationship we have is special.
You know, when I was a little girl, I was in Brownie Scouts, we had a song that we used to sing, and it said something to the fact of, make new friends but keep the old, one is silver and the other is gold. Well, we have had a partnership here at Lakeview with Oak Park for years and years and years and years. And so this was a wonderful way for us to enjoy being with our old friends and have new experiences with our old friends at Oak Park, but also to get new experiences with new friends from Backyard Getaway and from the Kennedy Center and from Van Wezel Foundation.
Just the fact that we were 1 in 7 communities chosen to participate in this grant nationwide just highlights the importance of the arts in Sarasota County, and I just hope that the community realizes that the nation recognizes Sarasota as a leader in the arts.
It's fantastic to have the partnerships that we have with the arts organizations in our community. I think we are very unique in having so much collaboration, cooperation among the different, not just among the schools and the arts agencies, but among the arts agencies themselves. They really work together, and it makes such a difference in what we can do to bring the students up to a higher level of understanding and skills than we could have otherwise.
As a teacher, the support of the Van Wezel and the Education Foundation, those so many integral pieces of Sarasota County, knowing who our students are. Once they get to know us, they want to be involved. They want our students coming because they see that our students get so much out of the arts and get so much out of the community that being involved with different community organizations gives our students an opportunity to succeed, but it also gives the community a chance to see what our students are capable of.
So over 200 students from both campuses got involved. They got to go to the Van Wezel and to see 2 separate shows, all geared towards math and science curriculum standards, and they helped these students to learn through the performing arts and literacy. You know, it's very hard to find a school willing to let you come in and take over on a construction project that they may or may not know exactly how it's going to turn out. So that spirit of cooperation was really wonderful.
I believe it's important for all schools to collaborate out and within the community, because a lot of times in education, especially now as we move into this new era of education and under the gun, we need to realize that there's hurdles out in public and in education system that we can solve together by working together.
We all get messages from the youth, and we all get messages in how you overcome things. When you come here and you see what's going on today, it puts life in perspective. And often sometimes it's these youth-oriented school situations that make us as adults look stronger and harder at ourselves for what we can do.
To be able to see it is a completely different awareness than to talk about it or to read about it or to write about it, whether it was a grant or whatever. But the ability for the teachers to work with the students and the schools to work together, the artists to work with the students, you know, the subcontractors, every single person here was excited and uplifted by it. So, I mean, it's just a win, 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 win for everybody.
And so everything that you'll see today after we finish this ribbon cutting, the waterfalls and the bridge here, is all been done by the students. All we did was guide them throughout the process. And so I would like to have a big round of applause for the students from both schools if we could do that.
Everybody who participates in this project changes in some way, whether it's the maintenance people or the staff or the parents. Everybody is affected by the project.
that I've known this person for years, but never knew her like I do now. I mean, now we're like the best of friends. See, friends, neighbors, hearts, forever.
Yes, yes.
The world is made of many diverse people, and we all have the same kind of heart, and we all have the same needs. That's the most important thing that I think that my students got from this, that I think will carry through in their whole life.
I think the magic about it is that it truly is a common language, and I know that maybe it sounds like a cliche, but it couldn't hold more true. It doesn't matter what your intellectual ability is or what your age is, or in most cases what your physical limitations might be. When the children are given the media and they're able to produce something side by side, there's a similarity and there's some differences, and I think that's what it's all about. Everybody worked together toward one common goal, and it didn't matter how you got there, you got there.